Hey, Victor here. Just going to talk a little bit about a post I wrote recently on digital map making. So one thing I'm trying to do here is make videos that kind of go along with the post. It's kind of a way of promoting both of them and also just learning what format works the best for me and what works online. I don't know, just kind of exploring things, trying some stuff out, seeing what's fun and what works. So one thing I wrote about recently was the idea of bug fixing using inversion or just the inversion method in general. So I'm going to play a little clip here from Charlie Munger, of all people, and we're going to learn a bit about what I mean when I say the inversion method.
My question is, you talk frequently about having the moral imperative to be rational, and yet as humans, we're constantly carrying this evolutionary baggage which gets in the way of us thinking rationally. Are there any tools or behaviors you embrace to facilitate your rational thinking?
The answer is, of course. I hardly do anything else. And one of my favorite tricks is the inversion process. And I'll give you an example. When I was a meteorologist in World War II, they told me how to draw weather maps and predict the weather. But what I was actually doing is clearing pilots to take flights. And just reversed the problem. I inverted. I said, suppose I wanted to kill a lot of pilots. What would be the easy way to do it? And I soon concluded that the only easy way to do it would be to get the planes into icing the planes couldn't handle, or to get the pilot to a place where he'd run out of fuel before he could safely land. So I made up my mind I was going to stay miles away from killing pilots by, by either icing or getting them into sucked-in conditions when they couldn't land. I think that helped me be a better meteorologist in World War II. I just reversed the problem. And if somebody hired me to fix India, I would immediately say, what could I do if I really wanted to hurt India? And I'd figure out all the things that could most easily hurt India, and then I'd figure out how to avoid them. Now, you'd say it's the same thing, it's just in reverse. But it works better to frequently to invert the problem. If you're a meteorologist, it really helps if you really know how to avoid something, which is the only thing that's going to kill your pilots. And if you can help India best if you understand what will really hurt India the easiest and worst.
All right, so Charlie Munger talks about this as a method for solving a lot of problems or approaching a lot of problems, whether it's in life in general or specific domains. He often talks about helping some country that might, be in poverty and need some way to like get the economic engine running, or it might just be about how to live a good life, how to not make really stupid mistakes. So that's the core of Charlie Munger's thing: is how to not make really stupid mistakes, rather than trying to be the best or do the best you can in life. Just don't do dumb things. So I was getting really frustrated with a bug that I was trying to fix today. It was some stupid bug or with WordPress and the specific local host installation that I had running, and some complicated thing, like bugs tend to be. And I found myself, I wasn't solving it. And I was like running into one thing after another and it wasn't making sense, and I was getting frustrated. And I started to get more frustrated. I started to get kind of angry and even just like want to take it out on something, maybe want to punch my desk or some silly thing like that. But in the moment, I'm getting very emotional and I just got locked in, and I was focusing so much on like trying to fix this problem. So afterwards I thought about that, and I thought about Charlie Munger's inversion method. And I thought, maybe instead of asking myself, how do I solve this bug? I could ask myself, like, I could invert that and ask myself, what's the stupidest thing I could do if I was trying to solve this bug? Like, what's the dumbest thing, dumbest way I could approach this? And my cat is just, if you can just see his little paw. Anyway, so I thought about that. So I had to think about that for a while, because bug fixing can, lots of times something that seems dumb, like refreshing the page 1,000 times, can actually help, because something you don't understand is happening and it might reveal something, right? So a lot of things in life are idiosyncratic like that. You don't know beforehand necessarily exactly what is smart and what's going to be dumb. But if I just reduce it and I just get really simple and try to be really simple about it, I can probably think of some things that are just going to be dumb when it comes to trying to fix a bug. So I made a list of those in some of my posts. There's things like getting really mad, like I was, like getting really emotional about the bug fixing, getting stuck in like tunnel vision. So instead of being able to see the bug as part of a larger thing or how I should approach it in general, getting really focused in on like, I have to fix this tiny piece of it. Something that happens a lot is that when you're bug fixing, you get hyper focused on fixing one thing, but then later you realize you could have probably thrown that whole section of your code out because it wasn't really that useful anyway. But you just get so fixated on this tunnel vision of fix the current problem that you lose the bigger picture, right? So that's not ever really going to be helpful. Doing the exact same thing repeatedly without any reason to it. So, I talked about refreshing the page 1,000 times. 99 times out of 100, that's not going to be useful. It might be useful the 100th time, but without a good reason, it's dumb. Not looking things up in Stack Overflow or on Google, so just like hammering away, just using your own thought process rather than trying to basically ask for help, basically not asking for help. Also going at it for hours and hours without any break, without any stepping away. I think these are all things that are dumb, that will make it worse in almost every case when you're trying to fix a bug. I think these things are the worst things you could do. So having come up with this little list, if I was Charlie Munger, I would say, okay, now my main job is to not do those things. It's not necessarily to fix the bug. It's to not do the dumb things that make fixing a bug harder. So when I think about what I did today and how I was dumb, I became too emotional. I definitely got tunnel visioned down and I couldn't see it very clearly. And I also had a hard time figuring out like when I should abstract. So when we're bug fixing, we sometimes have to step back and isolate the problem more and more by removing more and more components and just putting this piece of code by itself to see where exactly the problem gets introduced. I kind of failed to do that because I was so focused on trying to fix what I saw and also how stupid it was. Like I was mad at the computer because it didn't make any sense to me. And so I let myself just get into that mode. And by the end of the day, I felt frustrated and like impotent and unhappy, and it was not a good time. And I don't want to do that when I'm fixing a bug because I know I'll ultimately fix it. And since I've written this post and done this video, I have fixed the bug, So I want to approach that better. So, one interesting thing I wanted to talk about is this idea that like, why do I do stupid things when I know they're stupid? And I think partly, as I wrote in my post, is that it's about this idea that that's just how you fix bugs. That since I've done it in the past and I ended up fixing bugs, either through sheer force of will or luck or whatever, or just sustained effort, now I've convinced myself that that's the process. So when I start getting emotional or I start getting tunnel vision, I think, oh, it's just, this is how you fix bugs. But that's not really true. There are better ways. Just because I've done something in the past and it's worked doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. I should have methods that allow me to step back, approach them properly, and even enjoy the process and see myself growing as a person, in my emotional maturity while I'm doing something as simple as fixing bugs. I know this inversion thing will take a little while. I hope maybe you can apply it to some things that you're doing in your life or some problems you face. There's this method of inversion is interesting at the very least. Maybe it won't help you, but I'd love to hear how people are trying to apply this, and it's definitely worked for Charlie Munger, and he's a big fan of it. Yeah, that's our post for today, and hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time.